Like, I'd never heard the expression dark kitchen before. In fact, I actually hadn't heard of one until after I found the place. Like, looking back, you'd think there would be lots of security and stuff everywhere, but it was just a room at the end of a corridor in a building with a bunch of graphic design studios and like these paper cutouts with people's names on them glued to the doors. Like at the far end of that corridor, there were like 20 guys working on hot plates and gas cookers, and like these books with recipes for Totoro dishes on shelves by the door. And like one of the guys looked over to me and he was like, "Are you here to pick up?" And I was like, "Yeah, exactly." So he went to the other guys in the kitchen and was like 127. And so they handed me a bunch of plastic containers with some burgers in them and some chips. And I was like, "Thanks." And the guy was like, "They go into this building in Deptford," and he showed me the address on a screen and I like memorized it. So I guess at that point I should have been like, wait, I'm not a real delivery person. But I was actually like, no, I have to know. So I put the burgers in the basket of my bike and I took them down New Cross Road and I found the building they were supposed to go to. And I looked at the flats and I rang the buzzer, and then this automated voice answered and was like, "Please describe the service you're here to provide." And I was like, "Your dirty burgers are here?" And so the voice went quiet for a minute and then it went like, "Please slide the dirty burgers into the tray on your right." And then this like metal tray came out of the wall under the buzzers. And I like put the burgers in, and I guess it was some kind of lift because I heard these like gears going. And so I was like, "Okay, so how about the money?" And so the voice was like, "The payment has been forwarded via the app." And I was like, "Okay, well, I guess that's good news." So I cycled off and I was like to myself, well, that was weird. But then I thought, like, what if there were other kitchens in that building? So I cycled back to Bermondsey. Oh, and the guy who delivered Pansy's curry was actually coming out into the car park again. So I was like, oh God, I have to disguise myself. But then I remembered he doesn't actually know me, just like my address. So it was like, whatever. So I went into the building and I was like to myself, okay, well, let's try the next floor up. And it turned out that was also a dark kitchen. I walked in and there was like a white dude in an apron that read "Uncle Dong's Dirty Fur." And the guy was like, "Are you here to pick up?" And I was like already in a state of shock. So I just said, "Dirty burgers." And the guy was like, "That's the floor downstairs." So I went out and I was like, holy shit, what if there are more? So I went to the next floor up, and that was like a door with a paper sign that said "Persephone's Dirty Salads." And I could see these like pomegranates sitting on the ledge by the window up by the car park. And like the next floor was Betty's Badass Muffin Playhouse. And I was like to myself, holy shit, these restaurants are all just like mirages. The real operations are happening here in these like hideous kitchens. So I knew I had to post about this because if people knew, they'd be like, whoa, maybe these burgers are like dirtier than I thought. So I knew what I had to do. I went to the next floor up, and that was like a kitchen for Mad Mix Mullateria. And so I was like to myself, okay, well, I have to go live, otherwise people wouldn't believe it. So I switched on the live stream, and you could see this like graphic design signs and these like the arrows pointing toward the kitchen. And so I turned the corner and the guy running the kitchen was like, what the fuck is this? And he threw his apron over his face and he started screaming, "It's bloody HMRC! Get the fuck out of here now! Use the escape pole! Go, go, go!" And I was like, completely WTF. But then the guy ran toward me to like try to tackle me. But then he still had his apron over his face. So I like just moved and he totally KO'd himself on the wall. The other guys in the kitchen were all escaping through this like fire pole that was in the far corner of the room. And I guess it went all the way down through the other dark kitchens. And I was like to myself, okay, so where are they all running? So I ran to the window and I peeled back some of the paper. And I guess the video is kind of grainy, but you can just about see that they all running to grab this, like a bunch of bicycles from a rack and like pedaling off into random directions and disappearing down the side streets of Bermondsey. And so I turned around and looked at the kitchen. The guy with the apron on his face was still unconscious in the corner. So I just like streamed the kitchen. So like the mullet stew and the scouse boiling and the little chilies and little baskets beside it and like the spoons and ladles on this like a converted letterpress. Oh, and dirt just like everywhere. Like I could see a pile of food in the corner, like a mountain high. And I could just about see these horrible rats, tails and claws like skittering around the edges. And I was just about to scream, but I heard a guy's voice on a walkie-talkie. So I went over and it was like, "This is Mad Mix Mothership. Cello, do you copy? Cello, I repeat, this is Mad Mix Mothership. Cello, are you there? Fuck, they must have got him." So I grabbed the walkie-talkie and took it with me. And like, if you want to see the video that I made where I tried to get the guy the other end to pick up, the video is called "Dancer in the Dark Kitchen, Donna Sheds Some Lights on Illegal Kitchens." Well, I guess it's kind of boring actually because he never really picks up, but I try and make it fun.